Thank you. That was lovely. I love that. You did it so well. So, good morning, and thank you for that music. Thank you for the reading, Alicia, and thank you, Reverend Debbie, for everything you do all the time. So this month of August, we've been talking about words to the wise, and if you have a program, it always tells the theme on the front of the program, and then on the back of the program, it'll say, like August 3rd, Reverend Debbie talked about the wisdom of knowing. The next Sunday, I talked about the wisdom of being. Then last Sunday, Reverend Debbie talked about the wisdom of healing. And today, the title is the wisdom of succeeding. Now, we're not going to talk about the 10 steps to success. We're not going to talk about the top 5 winning attitudes. We're not going to talk about the 7 ways to turn failure into success. Well, we're going to talk about some basics of what's behind all success, basic wisdom. That's what we're after today. And a lot of this stuff is really part of our Science of Mind philosophy. I'm going to start out with a parable just to kind of set the stage. There was this farmer, and every year he would win a blue ribbon at the state fair for the best corn. And one year a newspaper reporter said to him, he said, "You win this every year. What's your secret?" And the guy kind of surprised the reporter when he said, he said that for years he'd been sharing his prize-winning seed with his neighbors. It was his secret, sharing his seed with his neighbors. And the reporter thought, well, that seems crazy because you're competing with your neighbors and yet you're giving them your prize-winning seed. He said, don't you want to win this contest? And the guy said, the farmer says, yeah, I do want to win the contest, but what I really want to do is grow the best corn possible. And to grow the best corn possible, I have to share my seed. Because what happens is as the corn grows and the pollen swirls around the fields, if they've got lesser than pollen in their corn, it's going to land in my field too, and I can't have that. I want everybody to have the good stuff. So if I'm going to grow good corn, I have to help my neighbor grow good corn. And it's kind of a metaphor for lots of things in life, the idea of sharing. So we glean from this parable that in order for anyone to truly succeed, we must help others succeed. And there's 2 reasons that's true, and both of them have to do with the fundamental principles that we adhere to in Science of Mind. The first is there is one life, that life is God, and that life is my life now. This idea of oneness. We are all one. Sort of like, fingers on your hand. You wouldn't cut off a finger. It's part of you. It's part of you, even though sometimes things look separate. We are all one. It's not just my life, it's everybody's life. St. Augustine said, God loves each of us as if there were only one of us. Very touching. And this means we're deeply connected to each other. We are, like Rumi said, he said, we're not a drop in the ocean, but the ocean in a drop, and we all come from the same ocean. We are all of the same essence. So as I succeed, it behooves me to lift up others to succeed as well in every way I can. And how can we do that? Well, we can simply do it by prayer. Praying each and every day and just blessing each person and knowing they're being uplifted, they're being led. We can encourage people, we can meditate, we can celebrate each person's good. Something happens to you that's good, I celebrate it. I don't say, well, why not me? We celebrate each other's good. We raise the consciousness. And then the second reason that we must help others to succeed, is there's a universal law that operates in a reciprocal manner. What goes into it comes back, pressed down, multiplied, and running over. That was one of Dee Ray's favorite concepts. She loved to hear about that, opening up to the good, that things were just so big and so good they were running over. Holmes says, if we want a friend, we must be a friend. If we want to be free from suffering, we have to stop inflicting suffering. If we want love, we have to love, no matter what anybody thinks of us. If we no longer want to be condemned, we've got to stop condemning. So in this teaching, the belief is that our higher power is for us, that our higher power's divine will, our higher power's desire for us is to have good, to experience beauty and the wonder of the world. God, the universe is for us. And if we don't do that, if we, don't use our minds for good, and if we're thinking about hatred, and if we're thinking about judgment and all that kind of stuff, that stifles spirit within. Spirit wants to have a good ride, and what Spirit does for us, it does through us. That's one of our beliefs in this science of mind philosophy. So we really know that the good that is out there for us is what Spirit desires for us. We don't have to beg, bless me, give me good. Just be open to it and know that that is what Spirit is wanting from you, because Spirit is experiencing in, through, and as you. So now let's just take a look at what is success. And there's lots of different definitions for success. One of them is, of course, got a lot of money, I'm successful. But as we all know people or heard stories about people that have a lot of money that we would not call successful, because it ends up upside down for them. I was looking at some examples of people that won the lottery. And it's not everybody that wins the lottery that screws it up, but a lot of people that win the lottery don't know what to do with it. They use it in ways that aren't very wise, and some of them actually 5 years from the time they win the lottery end up filing bankruptcy. They've given away, spent their money, invested their money in poor ways, and their money's gone. So just having a lot of money certainly isn't the formula for success. Other people might define success as achieving great power and influence. And you look at today's world, you look at history, and we certainly see it. I mean, it just baffles me, especially in our face are the entertainers that, I think of Judy Garland, who I just love. And, from the time she was a little kid, they were feeding her, here's a go-to-sleep pill, here's a wake-up pill. She didn't have a chance, and she ended up letting alcohol and pills kind of rule her life. I wouldn't call that a success. Michael Jackson, Prince, these people got hooked on these things that they thought were going to make their life better. They were certainly successful in what they did, their talents, but then what happened? That is not always the formula for success. I think about people like Harvey Weinstein. He's the one that he was a big mogul in the movie business, gave a lot of people a lot of opportunities, and he's the one that was misbehaving with a lot of the women that he helped move to the top, and he's ended up in prison and very sick, not a success at all. So achieving great success and influence over people certainly isn't one of the formulas that works in the long run for success. Some people would say, well, I know someone's successful by the status symbols, by the car they drive, by the house they live in, by the clothes they wear. I can see they're successful. And yet there's a lot of statistics now about teenagers, and these teenagers come from affluent families. They come from families with 3-car garages, and they've had everything they could possibly want, and yet they're not successful. They're into drugs, they're into bullying, they're not living the life either. So we know that these status symbols are not the true sign of success either. Maybe true success is living a life, and I think Alicia read it. I think it was from the Chittister, the Chittister book. Maybe freedom, maybe a life free from burden of anxiety and fear is what success comes from. Living a life free from anxiety and fear. And the other thing that I think is having a consciousness of love. You know, that's one of the qualities of our higher power, love with a capital L. And when we are in that, you know, really absorbing that, in embracing that quality of love, we are much more likely to be successful. We're much more likely to live a life free from anxiety and fear. Wayne Dyer says, he compares this, he says, to squeezing a handful of water. If you squeeze a handful of water, you have less and less water as you squeeze. It all goes away and leaves you wanting more. And he said that's, you know, that idea of wanting more and just hoarding that kind of stuff, that is not a formula for success either. Love-based motivation is as simple as using our God-given talents for good. And how do we go about that? Well, one of the ways to do that is make a commitment to do that, set an intention to do that. And each day as we get up, I think, to me, it makes sense to each morning as we get up, put some good stuff up here. Grab a one day at a time, whether it's from AA or Al-Anon or from, I read the Unity Daily Word, I read Science of Mind magazine one day at a time, and by the time the month is over, I have read every article in that Science of Mind magazine. Why? It feeds my soul, it lifts me up, it gets me, helps get me through the day. In the Bible it says, be still and know that I am God. Be still, and in the silence, in the quietness of your being, connect with God. And we can make a commitment to do that each and every day. And then as the day goes on, continue to let that light that you've lit in the morning, you've fueled yourself up, let that light radiate, let that light shine on other people and everything going on in your life. It's really important to be conscious of our thoughts all the time. And it's important to remember to keep our thoughts positive and constructive. And we can do that. We are in charge of our thoughts. I know some people think, well, I can't, my mind just, yeah, you are in charge of your thoughts. You know, get real, sit down and make a note. I am going to put these thoughts in my head. This is what I'm going to do. And keep your thoughts positive and constructive. And that allows Spirit to have a part in your life during the day. I like the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson. He writes such beautiful stuff. And here's what he says about success. This is how he defined it. He said, to have laughed often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you lived. This is to have succeeded. Isn't that beautiful? To know even one life has breathed better because you lived. That is to have succeeded. There's a New Thought minister called Dr. Joseph Murphy. He wrote a book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, and he says, you must be sure that the thing you want to do does not reduce to your success only. Again, this idea of sharing. Your desire must not be selfish. It must benefit humanity. The path of a complete circuit must be formed. In other words, your idea must go forth with the purpose of blessing or serving the world. I don't know if anybody saw this movie called Sound of Freedom. It's about child trafficking. It's not a fun movie to watch, but it's an important movie to watch and see the reality, because I think this does not get the attention that it probably deserves, that this is still going on. I read someplace that there's more slavery based on this stuff today than in the days of legalized slavery. This is under the radar. And so how do we make a difference there? Well, certainly we can't make a difference until we're aware of it, till we open our eyes and be willing to watch some of this stuff and see that is horrible what's going on. I had one of my favorite vacations in the last couple days. I go up to the Hinckley area, meet a cousin of mine who has a cabin there, and meet a couple of my sisters. We have lunch, then we go out to the cabin and we solve world problems. And this is one of the problems that was discussed. My sister and my cousin had seen that movie, and my cousin was really moved by it. And she said at this point, she has been just really financially supporting the areas that could help these trafficked kids. They got to have a place to put them when they are finally freed, and have safe houses, etc. But we just talked about the fact that yes, these are things that we can be aware of. We can pray about them, and we can learn, what is my part in this? How can I shine my light to make a difference in this area, or whatever area is of concern and on your heart? Murphy says, when we do this, it will come back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. If it is to benefit yourself exclusively, the circle or complete circuit is not formed, and you may experience a short circuit in your life, which may consist of limitation or sickness. So it's really important to know that this isn't for us. Our light, that light within us that we work on every morning, every Sunday morning, that light is there for us to radiate and shine. And the highest level of success is achieved when we are open to love, capital L, that God quality, and to be a giver of life, because that's God's nature. That's why the farmer was saying, I got to give the seed away, because that comes back to me. That is a God quality. Holmes says in Science of Mind text, he says, to each is given what he needs, and the gifts of heaven come alike to all. How shall we use these gifts in all that matters? So this is something that each and every one of us, it's important for us to think about. How are we using our gifts? Are we using them to bring laughter and joy and comfort and guidance and love, or not? Are we using them to remember that we're worthy of respect, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, and as Emerson says, to leave the world a bit better? and to know even one life has breathed easier because you lived. That should be our goal as far as success is concerned. And if we've done that, then we've discovered the wisdom of succeeding. So this week, I'd like to suggest that besides counting your blessings this week, count your successes. Where in your life have you done something that makes you feel good? Opened your heart, got your God juices flowing. Think about that every day. And then I would also suggest that this week, have fun, learn something, and help somebody else along the way. When we do that, I think we add to this vibration of success. So with that, I would like to invite you to take a deep breath, get settled in your seat, and I will do a spiritual mind treatment around these words. I know there is but one power in the universe. And that power is all good. It is love, it is joy, it is peace, it is abundance, balance, and order. And I am a living embodiment of those qualities. And they lead to success. I know that that very power which created everything and everyone is the power which experiences life in, through, and as me, in, through, and as its creation. And with that power within, I speak these words right here and right now, even though in the past I've mistakenly looked to the idea of money and influence or status symbols for success. Past I might have done that. I now remember that true success for me is to live in this life of love, be enveloped by the love of God. Then I can be free of the burden of anxiety and fear. It's being in touch with my inner peace. That's where our success comes from. And I set an intention to keep my thoughts positive and constructive. I center on love and allow Spirit to guide me. And I'm grateful that this is the way the law works. I speak my word, and it is done unto me as I believe. I plant that seed like the farmer did, and know that it is done unto me as I believe. And I release these words now to that beneficent conspiracy and say, and so it is.